I'll go to dad to talk about, and then I'll come to you, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, it is. And I don't think it's a conscious thing. It's just like, I just know who to talk to about what.
Right.
I'll never forget, we were at the Intercontinental Hotel in Dallas on the Dallas Parkway, if you're familiar with Dallas. And across the street is an In-N-Out Burger.
And mom is going to just flip out. What? Mom was like, I am so over y'all. I am so over y'all. I'm leaving. And you started walking home. Welcome back to She Means Millions. So, what do we want to talk about today?
I mean, that is not the kind of opening we want to have. My goodness. What do we have on our sheet?
Who's directing this?
And Briana is.
Okay.
I didn't know that I was like the facilitator. I thought I was just with you.
We both decided that you'd be the facilitator.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
There was a vote.
Between the two of you?
It was unanimous.
No,
The facilitator.
It was a facilitation that wasn't communicated, so it was an expectation that wasn't communicated.
Okay.
Hence, the topic of today's show,
Yeah.
which is
So if this is actually being filmed right now, then welcome to my world. That's all I want to say.
I don't know that we need our sheet.
no. I think that we're good.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
okay.
that we're good. What we wanted to talk about today was balancing family and business and boundaries and all of that. And so I think that this is the perfect segue into the topic of today.
Yeah.
You know?
We can give them the quick answer. Tell them it's impossible.
Yeah.
Oh my
No,
goodness.
it's funny. You're never balanced, right? I mean, really, like where you kind of balance the thing, it's always tips one way or the other, right? A little bit. You know, something is out of balance. It doesn't mean that it's not good.
No.
You know, sometimes it needs to.
Yeah, I mean, I think of it a little bit like a teeter-totter. Remember those?
Yeah.
I mean, you pour energy into one, and then you notice when it's getting to be uncomfortable, and you bring it back into center. The only time I'm going to be still is probably when I'm dead, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, think about the times and the things that have us out of balance. I mean, the conference. It's out. Anytime we have a major event, it gets out of balance. I mean, you got to throw everything else out because you're focusing so much on that. That balance word is something else. I mean, I know when we did the Glow Project, Sandra, years ago, and for those that might not know, we did a movie called The Glow Project, and it was right around the time The Secret came out. Like, The Secret was the influencer for the Glow Project. It kind of gave us a lens into what was missing in the marketplace, and that was and it was a statement that you used to make all the time when you were on tour. You constantly said, that women need to live their glow. Mm-hmm. And everybody understood what that meant in terms of, finding that space in you where you could glow. Mm-hmm. And I know it inspired me big time. Mm-hmm. But, that movie was all consuming. And I know for me, it took me way out of balance.
But I also feel like, when you look at the things that become, a part of your rhythm, right, for running your business, when there are months like July, I now know not to overbook myself on a whole bunch of other stuff. Mm-hmm. I literally look at what I take off my calendar because I know I'm going to replace those hours with conference prep.
Yeah.
Right. And I think knowing how to understand the cycles, of your business, the busy months, the busy time periods, so that you can take things off that, really are not as relevant. And you can even replace those hours maybe with even a massage or a mani-pedi or some kind of self-care thing, just to kind of make sure that you are, understanding that just like working out, your rest day is part of the workout. Mm-hmm. Right? That is part of the workout regime, is your rest days. And I think that's true for business as well. It's a little bit trickier with you when you've got little ones.
Yeah, what is a rest day? I haven't
Yeah.
had one of those in
Yeah.
a minute. No, I think that different seasons call for different versions of you. And as long as you can be intentional, for me at least, I have to be really intentional about knowing, okay, so this month, this is going to be a really busy season. So I'm going to have to be intentional about scheduling a slow season for me to recover from that.
Yeah.
That way you don't go into burnout, because I find that I will work myself to burnout, and then it's not fun for anyone. And you're not operating at the highest level. Like, you can't do your best work when you're burnout and you're just pushing through, you know? But even like our work styles, I don't know. I find like I've watched you during conference season, like conference week especially.
Who?
You.
Me. Okay.
And you are able to like really operate off of like a couple of hours of sleep.
It's true.
And
it's adrenaline. You call that adrenaline?
I think it's an adrenaline thing, but I don't think most people have that level of adrenaline. Like, I do not. I hit a point where I'm like, I will not be able to string a sentence together tomorrow if I do not go to sleep right now. Like, I need to get my sleep. I need to have at least 5 to 5.5 to be a functional
I
human.
wouldn't know what that is,
You know?
during conference week.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's a generational thing or if that's just strictly a Sandra Yancey thing. But like, to me, there's also balance within those busy seasons too.
Yeah. But I come out of that. I mean, I come out of conference in a real kind of stop mode. I mean, the day we get back, I have a foot massage. I mean, the day we come back home, I have a foot massage scheduled that morning. I have a whole full body massage scheduled that late afternoon. You know, we typically go do a wonderful casual, no makeup, put on a baseball cap, but a yummy dinner somewhere.
Like In-N-Out Burger.
In-N-Out, or actually our shabu shabu is really what I think of, you know, where I you know, I don't have to worry about being seen by anybody, and I just, you know, makeup free day, and you know, I mean, I really move into a whole nother rhythm the minute it's over.
Man, and that sounds real nice. Now that I have Tati, it's like,
I
can't go and be like, okay, mommy's been gone all week. Let me go and get my massage. You know what I mean? Like, I got to spend time with her. But it is like, for me, it's like, I think Lindsay Marie coined this term, her and Lori Harder, and I couldn't identify with it more. And that is, I turn into a bridge troll. Like, I need a bridge troll day where I can just look like a troll and just rot on the couch, you know? And I'm like, all the screen time, Tati, all the screen time this Sunday after conference. We're going to watch all the movies, and we're just going to rot on this couch and not go anywhere. I'm going into
you know,
full-on
I remember
troll.
when you were little, and you didn't know this, but at least here in Dallas, you know, we have a lot of foot massage places that are open till midnight. And we would put you down, and Kim would be, and I would leave, and I would go get my massage in the evening when you were asleep. And I still found little ways to fit things in. I do think it's really important to not spend all of your, when you've got little ones, you can't then put them to bed and then be working every night. You just can't do that. That is not healthy.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to have that time where, you know, you're just cuddling on the couch with your spouse, you know, or, you know, just having some conversation where you're just together, you know, even if you're not doing something together, you know. And I like watching you and Travis sometimes because I get to spend the night at your house every Thursday night, typically, you know, to, you know, cook dinner, give you guys a break from that. It's joy for me. You know, and help put the babies to bed. And if I'm lucky, I get to do both of them. And I that's joyful for me. And it gives you guys a break. But I remember coming down the steps one time and looking at the two of you, and you were both, you've got this really long couch, right? And his back was on one end and your back was on the other end, but you had your feet almost like touching. And with one blanket over it. It was so precious. I was so glad you guys were doing that. You know, and by the time I'd gotten Tatiana down, I was wiped out anyway, so I was ready to get ready for bed and come into my room and call you, and we had our little nice evening chat before we said goodnight too.
Yeah, I think it's real important for us, but to recognize our balanced needs. I mean, for example, and I've always been like this. I know when I had the advertising agency, and you know, it was a hurry. You know, creative people have a different way of approaching assignments because, they're creating even up until the day of and say, you know what? And this has happened to me on many occasions where I thought I was ready with my message or my talk. And I mean, the day before, I changed everything. I thought I had it all worked out, but something didn't feel right. I think you've gone through that before too, where you think, what felt really clear to me, a week ago, doesn't feel that way now. And I want to make some shifts and make some changes. And I think, it's the kind of thing that, one, if we don't recognize, it's important for us to recognize our style differences. Like, I've been around, obviously with the stuff we've been doing for over 25 years with eWomenNetwork, I've seen you where you're like really frustrated, trying to get something. But what I've learned is I just got to give you your space.
Yeah.
Because you'll figure it out.
Right.
No matter, what anxiety or frustration you might be feeling, you end up finding your groove, finding your grit, finding the thing, and
right.
you go. And I know the same thing.
Unless it's technology. That she's not going to figure out.
What'd you say?
Wait a minute here. I'm doing better.
You are doing better.
Did you see me this week?
Yeah.
I was like in a PowerPoint, out of a PowerPoint, showing a website, coming out of that, popping back into the PowerPoint, right on the slide that I left. And I was feeling,
You're doing better. Not without anxiety, though. And sometimes it is not space that you need. Sometimes it's like, just watch me.
Exactly.
Help me.
Yeah.
Well, but let me make a point here.
Sorry.
It's real easy to misinterpret your partner, what they need.
Yeah.
And you can find yourself getting in a slapback. When I say slapback, I'm talking, I'm not talking about hitting somebody. I'm talking about where you're like
Snapback.
a snapback. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
there you go. Another way to say it.
I said
Slapback.
I
She
should
said
have said
snapback.
it's a snapback.
It's
yeah.
okay. It was all figurative.
Even though you might feel like slapping.
Yeah. It is very
Get out of
important
my
that
head.
you do not follow through with that urge. Yeah.
My point is that it's really easy to go there with the other person's frustration and you mirror it back, because you're frustrated too, that they're frustrated with you, because that balance isn't being,
Oh, I'll up you one.
Yeah. And the biggest aha for me is bring it back. The other person is venting, the other person is expressing, they've got their own anxiety and frustration, what they're going through, but I don't have to match that. I can be a calming force and just listen and don't say, come on, get with it.
Yeah.
We got in this thing. Why are you griping now? It's easy to snap back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With something that could be hurtful, right?
Yeah.
You're an Aquarius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're very go with the flow. And Travis is an Aquarian, so it's interesting that I married an Aquarian. I'm a little bit of I dabble in astrology, okay, but it's fascinating how you do very much stick to the.
Well, I will say, the times I've been around people who really keep their calm, keep their cool, so to speak, I've always admired that skill because it's a skill.
Yeah.
It's a choice. I didn't grow up that way. I grew up with a lot of yelling in the house, yelling from upstairs, come on down here, whatever it might be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much orange juice did you put in that glass?
Yeah.
That scarred you.
Little juice glass.
He talks about that juice glass a lot.
I will never forget when I moved out of my apartment. The first thing I did is I bought a full thing of orange juice. I bought a full thing of bacon. I fried almost all the bacon. Orange juice, poured myself the biggest glass, and I remember sipping it and saying to my dad, who I love dearly, but I remember saying to him, hey, Dad, I got a full glass of orange juice here.
Yeah, but he wasn't there, right?
No, he wasn't there.
Do you feel like you're drowning in your business? Like you're doing everything and something has to give, but you're afraid it might be you? What if I told you there's a network of over 500,000 women entrepreneurs, all dedicated to supporting each other, a network of women helping women? I'm Sandra Yancey, founder of eWomenNetwork, and I'm inviting you to join us and become a member. eWomenNetwork.com. We can't wait to meet you.
The point of the matter is, you're exposed to this, and next thing you know,
My mic is falling.
Mike's.
Speaking of technology issues, my mic won't stay up. Here we go. There we go. Yeah, it won't. It needs.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dad.
That big knob. Yeah, that's the one.
Everybody just keep in your zone.
Yeah. Keep talking.
We're
Just
still rolling.
Keep rolling. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I'm watching it fall as we go.
New stand is. Ooh,
Yeah. Okay. So the point of the matter is that, I find for myself personally that, especially working in a women's company, understanding is that space has to be allowed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be the one to solve it, and that's not really what you're asking for. You're not really saying to me, "Hey, I need you to solve this for me." Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You're just expressing your out of balanceness at the moment, and I need to step back and just, be an assistant or help if I can, if you want me to, if you invite me in to solve something, or just leave the area. Just leave the area.
Just leave the area.
Yeah. Evacuate the fire.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, there's like the balance of balancing work and life, but then the balance of working with family and understanding how we navigate the stressful seasons and how we support each other through those stressful seasons. It's like I find that we could all, or I guess I'll use this example. There might be a time when we're both kind of freaking out, but only one of us will act freaked out at a time.
It's true.
Like somebody clicks into, okay, here's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Even if on the inside we're both freaking out. And I don't know what
It's intuitive.
Yeah.
I've watched the same thing.
Yeah.
I've noticed the exact same thing. Like there's always someone who comes and it says, this situation needs a hero and I'm going to be that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but
or you're going to be that.
But it's
somebody
like this
says,
unspoken, energetic,
Yeah.
like this person needs it more right now.
Right, I know. Yeah, it's true. I've seen it happen. I've seen it ebb and flow amongst all of us.
Yeah.
And learning how to just kind of, I think, tolerate styles. You're much more last minute, and I have to learn not to get anxious for him. And I'm much more of a planner.
Yeah.
Like I have to have things thought out way in advance.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm watching that he's not, like I'm in it way in advance, in June I'm in it and he's not in it and it's middle of July and he's still not in it, I start to get anxious for him and I have to do my own check because that's where you're most brilliant. What I know is that you are in it. You're percolating, you're thinking, you're contemplating, and then you have it all planned out to execute in a much more compressed period of time than me. I need longer for that.
I honestly, I marvel at your discipline in that, and it's something that I've always wanted to course correct in myself, but I've come to realize that I perform best. As you said, I get my best work is in those squeeze moments, so to speak.
Yeah.
Where my back is kind of up against the wall. Oh my gosh, I got to have this ready in 2 days or whatever the case may be. But I just find that I'm able to generate my best work.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
It's just hard for the planners that are around you.
Oh no, I get it.
It's
tough. And don't you think? I think too. With our own staff, when you are a planner and you're working with a creative person, it is understanding that bridge because and I've seen this with all kind of creative people. I mean, I work with graphic designers, editors, everything. Man, their brilliance so often just comes the tighter it is, and magic starts to happen. And it's important to recognize that as well. If you're a planner, it's still important that you also recognize the other people who deliver, and they're not planners like that.
Yeah.
It isn't because they're trying to give you a hard time or create grief in your life.
Right.
They would like to be able to do it, in a planful, mindful way.
Right.
But sometimes it's just how we're built.
Yeah.
What I have observed in people and working with them and myself.
Mm-hmm. It's been interesting because when I first came into eWomenNetwork, I definitely fancied myself more as that creative type that kind of favored your style, very last minute, and I still do really good work under pressure for sure. But I've definitely over the years started to lean a little bit more towards planning, and it's a very I find that I'm a very bit of both of you, which is
Yeah, I
really
agree.
interesting. And I will say that having been a reformed last minute creative I think helps me be able to navigate like communication with you, Dad, specifically, because you're right. Like the staff can get really frazzled if they are like, you need what video? What do you need edited? And we need this when? You know, like there's definitely those times, but I think it helps that I'm like, yeah, but you got to just figure it out. You know what I mean? And I think it's important to just surround yourself with people who know your style and can work with that style. And as somebody that also works with you and being very planned, it's like, oh, you better not come to this meeting without your stuff, without your numbers. Right. You better know it. It better be on hand. You better not be fumbling for it. You know what I mean? So it's learning and being able to adapt to that, I think, is really important with both of you having such different styles.
I think that's also what's going to make you such a great CEO as you really take over the helm of eWomenNetwork, is that you do have a balance of both and you understand both. Because you've had to work so closely with two people that are polar opposites in terms of their work style.
Yeah, totally. It is a phenomenon to me how you both are so opposite, yet you work so well together.
Well, also, truth be told, you make decisions as to who you're going to talk to about what subject based on the temperament or the style of the other person.
Yeah, that's true too.
You know what I mean? You guys will go to your mother for certain things that you don't go to me for.
It's true.
And you'll go to me to share, something really devastating. because Dad's going to take it on the down low.
Yeah. Dad's going to stay calm, cool, and collected, and Mom is going to just flip out. What?
Oh my God!
Right? No, but really. Right? Did you know that?
No.
Oh yeah, no. But it's you know what? It's so funny because that was how I grew up doing that. Like I would go to Dad for certain things growing up, and I still do the same thing in the office. Ironically enough, there's certain things that I'm like, I'll go to Dad to talk about, and then I'll come to you, or vice versa. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah, it is, and I don't think it's a conscious thing. It's just like I just know who to talk to about what.
Right.
Interesting. Yeah, it is interesting. It is interesting. But
what conference was it that we were doing? I'll never forget. We were at the Intercontinental Hotel in Dallas on the Dallas Parkway, if you're familiar with Dallas. And across the street is an In-N-Out Burger. So, Sandra and I love In-N-Out.
Yeah.
We like our In-N-Outs.
But I remember on this particular conference, there was some stress we were going over. You know what I mean? Because I don't hold on to it, but there's some stress we were going over. And you decided you didn't want me to drive you home. Your mother decided, I'm getting out now. She got out of the car.
Oh.
From Addison.
Stop it.
You know what I mean? But let me tell you what I've learned about this. I was rather proud of this. Okay, I'm giving you your space. I'm going to let you walk. I mean, you walked a long distance.
I sure did.
You know what I mean? And I think finally I pulled up to her because I was, I wanted her to be safe. You know what I mean? I finally pulled up to her and I said, will you allow me to drive you home, please? And she got in the car. But we had to get through that. But that was a stressful moment.
Yeah.
A stressful time.
I saved your life that day.
Did you?
Yes, I did, by getting out of the car.
I have no idea, right?
I think I wanted to kill you or something.
Yeah. Both of y'all needed to cool down a second.
Yeah.
That's so funny. I feel like that's happened a couple of times. I remember the four of us with me, Riley, and Dad.
Where were we?
It was like
what was that? Red Hot and Blue.
Red Hot and Blues. I knew it started with an R. And the three of us, Dad, Ryland, and I, were like bickering. And Mom was like, I am so over y'all. I am so over y'all. I'm leaving. And you just started walking home. You just left the restaurant and started walking home. We're like, what just happened? Where did she go?
And I think she walked, and we left.
Yeah, we had to check out.
We saw her.
And we pulled over.
We kind of pulled over and said,
We're
you
sorry,
ready to get
Mom.
in?
No.
We're sorry.
We had this whole thing called Start Over.
Yeah, can we start
that's
over?
Right, that's right.
That was
Yeah.
that was a family.
Yeah.
Anybody could say at any time, can we start over?
Yeah.
And everybody had to honor it.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I've tried to start doing that with Tatiana, but she does not understand that concept. So, like, at what age does the start over method start to kick in?
Yeah.
Because she's 5. So, starting over, she's like, no. No.
It was Ryland. I remember it was Ryland who put his window down and said, "Can we start over?"
Yeah.
It just was like, I'm not having dinner and listening to the three of y'all. And you and Ryland bickering over him taking too much of the ice cream dessert became a thing. It ruined every meal. And I remember you taking your spoon and clicking his spoon away because he took too much ice cream. And finally, Dad
Oh,
started,
yeah, we got in like little fist fights over there.
It was little
Ice
spoon
cream
fights.
fight.
Little
I ended up
sword
I
spoons.
ended up our son, man. I mean, you know, we would share dessert at the end. You know what I mean? And they'd bring the ice cream with the cake or whatever. We all would, you know, but he would tear up the ice cream first. And finally, I got hip to the solution.
Yeah.
Get him his own little ice cream.
Yeah.
His own little dish.
A little extra scoop.
Yeah.
That is so funny. That'll solve that issue.
So what do you think are some key things, lessons you've learned about balance as relates to the family dynamic, business, and all that? I mean, what's changed about you that you know
Yeah.
you can say this? I know has changed.
No, it
from
was
how I was before.
I think it was the first couple of years were a real challenge for me, and I don't know if they were for the two of you, but internally it was hard because I found that I had a hard time acclimating to that professional environment and taking on and off the hat, and the very people that I would go to seek for advice on how to professionally say, you know what I mean? How would you professionally handle this frustrating? Like the very two people I'd go for that advice were you, you know,
who were the people that you were frustrated with?
exactly. So I didn't want to go to you and tell you how I
Right.
really felt, because then I'd be telling you how I really felt, and it wasn't the professional way to do it. So there was this little bit of a period of kind of feeling like, I don't know, like I was at the disadvantage, because I wanted to show up in a good way, in a better way, but I didn't know how to talk to you about it at the time. So I had to kind of figure that out, and it took me a little while to do that. But I think that the balance really started to kick in for me when I could truly separate mom and dad from Kim and Sandra. You know, because it's true, like the people that you are in the office are kind of totally different than the way you are at home.
Yeah.
You know, and the environment, the work environment, and the way that you present yourselves in the I had to change. The Briana that presents herself at the office is a different Briana than she is at home. I had to figure that out, and I think that when I started to refer to you both as Kim and Sandra, not in a I'm embarrassed for people to know that they're my mom and dad in the office, but from it was creating that divide between the balance between when I'm dealing with mom and dad or when I'm dealing with the CEO and the CMO of the company.
Yeah.
You know,
you walk into my office and you say, "Hey, Sandra," and I know immediately it's a business thing. You'll walk into my office and say, "Hey, Mom, you know, I run something by you," and I know immediately it's not
personal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that that's really important, and then also just I think you're really good as well when you give me a call. There were times when we were struggling, when it was hard for me to communicate, and so I wasn't communicating very much, and then things would bubble up, and then the next thing you know, I'm feeling resentment, and then we would have a family meeting and we would talk about it, and it took a few of those iterations of figuring out just how to communicate in the moment without letting things bubble up, you know. But we're really good at repair. And I think that with family, working with your parents or just any family member or spouse, like being really good at repair and knowing that you're never going to quit on each other. You know, I think
That whole start over.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is that start over. Yeah.
It has become kind of a safe word, a safe phrase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That we just start over, and it immediately puts everybody in check.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody immediately takes a deep breath and say, "Okay,
Yeah.
let's start over." Not just
Exactly.
one person, but we all do it. And I think that's it's been a real great tool for us. I don't know if you call it a tool, but you know, way for us to manage.
Even getting phone calls, there would be times when it was like, oh, I don't know if this is going to be work related or personal, and I don't know that I can take a work call right now. You know what I mean? And so there would be times where it's like, I don't want to avoid answering my mom and dad's calls, because what if it's something important and they need me? So learn to like never not pick up the phone, but to vocalize at the beginning, like, I'm with Tati right now, or Trav and I are on the couch. Trav and I are watching a movie. Like I'll vocalize up front what mode I'm in, so that you know. Oh, she's in family mode right now. This can wait, or we can talk about this later. Or, oh, hey, Tati, you know, hey, Trav, you know, and then we both kind of can level set on the nature of what we're communicating about. You know, and I think respecting that and knowing, oh, she is with Tati, this can wait. You know, I think that you're really good at that, and I appreciate that.
Or I'll call you about something work related, but Tati will hear my voice. And then she'll say,
hey,
Lovey, and I'll know immediately it's time to just switch.
And you do, and you're like, go be with the baby, bye. And you hang up on me. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
Do you feel the weight of pressure on you and expectations?
I mean, it's not like totally crippling, but yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, going into the office, you know, it's like, I've earned, I think, my stripes a little bit being 7 years in and now being at the VP level. But at first it was like, I never wanted to be late, and I always wanted to make sure that I was setting the tone, and people saw like, oh, she's earned her right to be here. To me, it was really proving that I've earned this. That was really important to me, you know. And like when I came into the company, after doing my entrepreneurial thing, it was, I think, critical that I had done that, because otherwise I wouldn't have felt like I had earned my stripes and earned my right and known what it was like to have a risk and to own a risk and all of that. But yeah, I mean, even like as we look at the succession plan coming to an end, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I have really picked up my, like, okay, whoa. How is this company going to continue without you? We have built this brand around you. You know,
But the good news is it's not called SandraYancey.com. I mean, even though you have a website, you know what I mean? It's always, and we always knew from the very beginning, it was going to be eWomenNetwork.
And that was always the intention. But then it started to become more than that, you know, and you are the face of the brand, and people buy into it because of you. And I even got my own taste of that when a couple of years ago, I think I went to Tucson and I was pitching membership and conference, and my conversion rates were horrendous, because for me, selling our membership when you're the core deliverer of it it doesn't click. And so for me, like, I've really got in touch with, okay, the future of this company is going to demand that I step up as a leader, so I need to be seen as such. And so I have certainly, I think, raised the bar in terms of how I'm showing up.
And we've been very strategic in us doing more things together, right? It's a little bit of, you know, with Sandra and then Briana. Now it's Sandra and Briana, and over time it will be Briana less Sandra. You know.
And I think that I value that for people that maybe are going through succession plans or thinking about family businesses. It's like, what is the end game of the business, and making sure that you're all on the same page with that. Because I've never wanted to drive that, because I don't ever want it to feel like, oh, I'm trying to come in and step on your toes.
I don't
you know
see
what
it that way.
And you don't. And that's, I think, really important, because I do think that some families might get into business together, and that could happen.
Yeah, I think sometimes, and I actually have a friend where I think she retired kind of under pressure and really didn't want to. And as a result of that, had a hard time really letting go. You know, I don't actually see myself ever leaving eWomenNetwork, but I certainly do not see myself. I am so clear that I am ready as we move through these next few years I am so ready to, you know, transfer the reins, the CEO reins. To you, and I think you're. I mean, you've developed such phenomenal skills. I mean, I just watch it in our executive meetings. The questions you're asking, the numbers you're tracking, the things that you are noticing between the numbers that could drive the numbers. All of those things have gotten so keen. You've gotten so keenly sharp at it. You know, and I mean, I'm excited for you. I'm excited for the company. I'm excited for the next generations that are going to be entrepreneurs and are going to need your guidance, you know, your voice and that kind of thing. So I think it's a really a really terrific thing. And now, as we look into you, getting into Harvard and, doing a lot of the things to really understand what they've learned about succession planning.
Just dropped a bomb that nobody knows yet. Do you even know?
Yeah, I know.
He's like, I know everything.
Everything.
I live with her.
Of course he does. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, by the way, my my voice might sound a little strange. I'm getting over bronchitis.
Yes.
If you ever had that before, you kind of know what I'm talking about. But I'm on the downslide of it. But so if my voice sounds a little scratchy, I apologize. But one thing in particular that I really appreciate that I've seen and observed in you is you take a beat before you respond sometimes. And I really respect that. I really respect the fact that you're listening and you're not like, how someone's talking and the other person's waiting for their chance to jump in there, right?
Yeah.
And I noticed that you let the person say what they got to say. Listen, take a beat, and then you comment. And I happen to admire that. And I've noticed it. I think I've shared with you.
Yeah.
We've talked about it.
I've seen that shift in you because I think it's a very attractive quality for someone to have instead of someone that's always just jumping on this. I remember one of my account executives when I had the advertising agency. We were in a meeting and we're talking to the client, and this account executive couldn't stand for there to be any dead air, so he called it dead air. You know what I mean? He always felt that when that you had to be right there with the comment. And I think it shows that the person is hearing what you've got to say, acknowledging it, and it gives it a lot more power because you did allow for some space. You know, there. So I think it's important in our relationship, in both business and in personal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To embrace that. So I it's something that I notice.
Yeah, me
Thank
too.
you.
And other people, and these are little things people think are little, but these are all part of the things that ingratiate you with the people you work with.
Yeah.
And I try to do it.
And I think it's tough sometimes because to balance, those powerful pauses with also the demands to make quick decisions.
Right.
It's a delicate dance. Mm-hmm. So,
But at the end of the day, I think everybody just wants to be heard.
yeah,
You
for sure.
And yeah, I'm just a work in progress.
Aren't we all? Just so that you know, it never stops.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, hey, I think that this was a pretty good show. We could keep on going forever, but why don't we call this one complete?
Yeah, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap. Until
Because,
next time.
Yeah, she doesn't just mean business.
She means
millions.